Opening night disappointment for the Kings as the stars that shined in LA were on the other team. That and more on this edition of Locked On LA Kings.
You are Locked On Kings, your daily podcast on the Los Angeles Kings, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, Kings fans, welcome to Locked On LA Kings, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Thanks for making Locked On LA Kings your first listen every day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Download the FanDuel app now by visiting FanDuel.com and win $300 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. I'm Eddie Garcia, your host of Locked On LA Kings. I've worked in sports media for the past 30 years. Also one of the co-hosts of Locked On NHL Game Night, a nightly NHL recap show that is currently on the air. And I hosted the first episode of Locked On NHL Game Night earlier tonight. I'm also a passionate LA Kings fan for over 30 years. Well, the Kings opened up the 2024-25 season with a disappointing 4-1 loss to the Colorado Avalanche. And the truth is, it's only one game, and the Avalanche are a really good team. So it's fair to say we shouldn't overreact to just one game. It's a marathon, not a sprint. And I do believe that. And we knew this was going to be a tough home opener and a tough schedule for the Kings to start the season. That is a fact. But my big takeaway from this loss is something that we've known for the past 4 years. It's hard to swallow, but I'm not sure how we can come to any other conclusion than this. The result to this point is that the LA Kings don't have elite players that can get the job done against elite players. You've got Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl, two of the top 10 players in the NHL for the Edmonton Oilers, who have, of course, eliminated the Kings in each of the past 4 postseasons in the first round. Tuesday night, it was Nathan MacKinnon and Cale Makar of the Colorado Avalanche, 2 top 10 players in the world, both making great individual plays that led directly to goals in a victory. Nathan MacKinnon makes a play where he skates from the blue line. He goes completely around the Kings net. He draws 3 LA players to him, finds Marty Necas in the high slot, and he scores his first of 2 goals on the night. Cale Makar makes a move at the blue line, breaking the ankles of Jeff Malott, skates to the net, puts a shot on goal from point blank range. Now the save is made, but a teammate's right there to put in the rebound. And the Kings just can't match those types of guys. Adrian Kempe is a very good player. Kevin Fiala is a very good player. Maybe Quentin Byfield will turn into a very good player. None of those guys came close to doing what McKinnon or Makar did in the win on opening night. Now, the Kings, if they make the playoffs, maybe they face the Oilers again, they're still not going to have any of those kinds of players on the ice. And that's the thing that keeps rattling around in my head after watching that season opening loss to the Avalanche. Now, am I ready to give up on the season after one game? No. I'm just telling you what popped into my head watching that season opener. And it's only one game, but it's the only game we have to react to. So hopefully by the end of the season, the Kings' depth can ultimately win out over a couple of superstars. Now, that hasn't worked yet. This is not the same group completely that we've had the last few years. So maybe it'll work now. But we're not going to know for sure until the postseason. But as far as the first taste of this season and the Kings as a group trying to contain a couple of superstars didn't really work out in game 1. Now, not every team the Kings are going to play have 2 superstars like the Oilers, like the Avalanche, and maybe the Kings can almost look to the Florida Panthers, the 2-time defending Stanley Cup champions, who don't have 2 of the top 10 players on their roster, but they do have a handful of top 50 players to go along with a lot of other guys who know their roles and play them well. Hopefully by the end of the season, we can see an LA Kings team that is similar to that, a well-oiled machine, everybody doing their part and playing at a high level, but we didn't see that on opening night. And maybe we should not have expected it, but that's just the fact. Head coach Jim Hiller said after the game, quote, "That was not a good game for us, but I don't want to take anything away from how well Colorado played here tonight. You know what I mean? So let's give them the credit that they're due and say that we need to play better than we did. We'll bounce back tomorrow. That's just what we do. That's how the league works. It's a marathon, as we know, and we are not happy with what we played," end quote. So a few other things I wanted to get into from a team aspect before we talk about some of the individuals for the Kings. This game was scoreless after the first period. The Kings started off well. They were feeding off the crowd. I thought they showed a lot of intensity, a lot of heart, a lot of fight. And then McKinnon and Makar, they were contained well in that first period. And the matchup was the Philip Deneau line going up against the top line for Colorado. So Deneau and Warren Fogle and Trevor Moore were out there against McKinnon and Natchez and Shushkin, and they did a great job. That wasn't the case in the second period. Both of the plays we're talking about with Makar and McKinnon, it was Quentin Byfield's line that was on the ice. So I don't know if it was the Colorado coaching staff doing a better job of getting Makar and his teammates away from Deneau, but it seemed like Deneau was doing a great job, and his line was doing a great job on that top line for Colorado. But when they were at their best, or when they really struck, it was not Philip Deneau on the ice. So the Kings, as the home team, gets the final change. You would think that would help them get some more favorable matchups, but it seems in the some key moments in this game, that was not the case. We were hoping the Kings' special teams would be a strength for them, and maybe it ultimately will be, but it really wasn't in this game. At least the power play wasn't. Now, yes, the Kings did score their only goal on the power play. It was a 5-on-3 power play. But the Kings had back-to-back power plays. I mean, literally back-to-back. Early in the third period, where there was still a lot of hockey to be played, and it was only 3-0 at the time. And I think they totaled 2 shots on goal at that point. So the Kings ended up going 1 for 4 with a man advantage. That number one power play unit with the 5 forwards on it had a tough time getting set up. They were losing faceoffs, which didn't help. I will say, though, the Kings' penalty kill was probably the one bright spot for LA. The Avalanche had one of the top power plays in the NHL a season ago. They had 6 power play opportunities in this game and were only able to come away with 1 goal. The Kings were hoping that home ice advantage would once again be a major factor for them this year, and it may turn out to be. But the Kings only lost 6 times all last season in regulation on home ice, and they start this season with a home ice regulation loss. The crowd, I thought, was great. I thought the Kings started well, but things really got away from them in the second period when they were outscored 3-0. Shots on goal in that second period favored Colorado 11-5, and the Kings just couldn't get any sustained offense going, really didn't have many high-quality scoring chances. As far as the game stats in this one, I think they're very misleading. If you didn't see the final score and you just looked at the game stats, you would have thought maybe this was a 1-goal game. But obviously Colorado gets the 4-1 win. Shots on goal favored LA 25-23, but that was only because the Kings had multiple power plays in the third period, and obviously they were trying to pour it on to get some offense going. They pulled the goalie more than once, a couple of times. So that's misleading. We talked about the power play, 1 for 4 for LA and 1 for 6 for Colorado. So the LA PK did a pretty good job. Faceoffs favored the Kings 55% to 45%. Hits favored LA 33-25. Block shots favored Colorado 21-14. But again, the game stats a bit misleading, as they sometimes can be. I did want to talk about something that we're going to try and keep track of for this season, because it was such a big storyline in the playoffs last year, and that's the distribution of minutes. Last year in the playoffs, head coach Jim Hiller didn't use much of his fourth line, didn't use much of his bottom pairing on defense. So we are, again, keeping track on how that's going to go, and sometimes it tells a story, sometimes it may not. Brant Clark certainly is one player we're kind of focusing on. We have to talk about him more coming up in a minute because he had an interesting night. But if you look at the distribution of minutes for the defensemen, Drew Doughty, of course, leading the way, 22 minutes and 40 seconds. That's not bad for Drew. Mikey Anderson was close behind, 19 minutes, 51 seconds. Brant Clark was third, 19 minutes and 3 seconds of ice time. Now, I'm sure that was bolstered a bit by the number of power plays the Kings had, and he's out there for that. Brian Dumoulin was fourth for defenseman in minutes played, 18 minutes, 29 seconds. Joel Edmondson, 14 minutes, 48 seconds, and Cody Ceci, 16 minutes and 35 seconds. So that was what the distribution of minutes looked like for the LA Kings in this game against Colorado. We'll get more into Brant Clark's night coming up in a bit. Also, the fourth line, I did want to mention Alex Turcotte was the center on the fourth line. He played 7 minutes and 9 seconds. That's not a lot. Jeff Malott was even less, 6 minutes and 13 seconds. Joel Armia actually played quite a bit. Of course, he was playing on special teams as well, 13 minutes, 29 seconds for the Kings' fourth line players. All right, coming up, we're going to get into some specifics on the night as far as the individuals. I mentioned Brant Clark. We'll also talk about Darcy Kemper's night as well. We'll do that next. You're on Locked On LA Kings, your team every day. You just realized your business needs to hire someone yesterday. How can you find amazing candidates fast, easy? Just use Indeed. When it comes to hiring, Indeed is all you need. Stop struggling to get your job post seen on other sites. Indeed sponsored jobs put your post at the top of the page and helps you reach the right candidates faster. If you've been in a spot where you need to hire right now, the pressure's on, and every day without the right person's a setback, that's exactly when Indeed sponsored jobs come in handy. They make sure your post is seen by the right candidates right now. And now you can speed up your hiring process with a $75 sponsored job credit. Just go to Indeed.com/lockedon right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Hiring, Indeed is all you need. All right, we're continuing our recap of the Kings' 4-1 home loss in their season opener against the Colorado Avalanche. Want to get into some more of the individual players from this game. I did want to throw up the lineup for you to check out if you're watching on YouTube. We did have Alex Laferriere in the lineup for the Kings. That was a little bit of a question mark going into this one because he got hurt over the weekend. But he did play on that second line with Quentin Byfield and Kevin Fiala. Of course, the top line of Kopitar, Kuzmenko, and Kempe. Trevor Moore was on the third line on the right side with Philip Deneau and Warren Fogle. In the fourth line, Alex Turcotte was centering with Jeff Malott and Joel Armia. The defensive pairings, Mikey Anderson, Drew Doughty. Joel Edmondson with Brant Clark, Brian Dumoulin, and Cody Ceci. Darcy Kemper was the goalie, and Anton Forsberg was the backup. So pretty much the starting lineup we thought the Kings would have, of course, without Corey Perry, who is out injured. But other than that, pretty much the lineup that we thought we were going to see to start the season. Darcy Kemper in this game, I thought was okay. That is to say, I didn't think he let in any really bad goals. Saw 23 shots. He stopped 19 of them. First goal I mentioned was the Nathan McKinnon skate around the back of the net goal. That caused Kemper to have to go from post to post from his left to his right. McKinnon throws it out in front in the slot. Marty Necas is there with time and space, picks the top corner over the glove of Kemper to make it 1-0. Second goal was a point shot with a lot of traffic in front, and Kemper just simply didn't see it. You certainly hate to see a puck go in from that far out. Cody Ceci was battling with an Avalanche player in front of the net and obstructed the view of Kemper, and you can't stop what you can't see. Third goal was the Cale Makar play where he skates in point blank on Kemper. Kemper makes the save, but the rebound is put back in. And then the fourth goal was a power play goal. Marty Necas, again, time and space. This time he went top corner blocker side with a very nice shot. So Darcy Kemper certainly wasn't amazing. Was it one of the best games we've seen him play? No, I didn't think he was horrific either. He was okay, but obviously not good enough to get a win in this one. And I talked about the superstars for Colorado. The Kings did not get a lot from their stars Yes, the Kings don't have a couple of top 10 players in the league, but they still have some high-end talent. And Kevin Fiala did have the lone goal, but he didn't really stand out much in this one as well. Other than that goal, that was on a two-man advantage. He also took a bad penalty in this, a roughing call that was unnecessary, and the Avalanche scored on the ensuing power play that made it 4-0. Fiala ended up with 3 shots on goal, but again, wasn't nearly dangerous enough. Same goes for Adrian Kempe. Did have a nice hustle play in the first period where it was a race down the ice to get to a loose puck. He batted the puck one-handed with his stick, whacking at it, and got it on goal. But that was really his only scoring chance. He was credited with 2 shots on goal. And look, I don't know if the contract stuff is distracting him or not, but the longer he doesn't score while he isn't signed, it's a thing. We did see a high-profile winger agree to a new contract. According to reports, Kyle Connor of the Winnipeg Jets has agreed on a 7-year deal with the Jets, around $12 million per season. Again, I don't know if Kempe is looking for something comparable to that. I'm guessing it's a bit less than that. But the point is, we're finally starting to see some of these notable UFAs agree to deals, and hopefully something will happen soon with Kempe. Although, if you watch the ESPN broadcast in between periods, one of their reporters, Emily Kaplan, claims that Kempe and the Kings are not close to a new contract. Quentin Byfield, he did have 4 shots on goal, but he was a -2. Had a really, really good chance early in the first period, couldn't finish, and that was about it for Q. He was pretty quiet in this game. So when you're going up against an Avalanche team that has guys like Nathan McKinnon, Cale Makar, Marty Nate just had a really good game, your guys have to show up too. Fiala, Byfield, Kempe, those guys needed to be a factor in this game, and they just weren't. Andrei Kopitar, of course, playing his final home opener. Didn't think that he was much of a factor in this one as well. Played 17 minutes and 47 seconds. Had 1 shot on goal. So a disappointing final home opener for the captain. Brandt Clarke had a very interesting night. We talked about his minutes earlier. He definitely had a target on him in the third period. We know that Clarke has an edge to his game. He can even be a little bit nasty at times. He cross-checked one of the Avalanche players in the back while he was skating around his own net, caused him to collide with the goaltender. Avalanche captain Nathan McKinnon did not like that, understandably so, frankly, and he retaliated against Clarke. And I thought that probably should have been the end of it, but the Colorado players kept taking runs at Clarke, who finally retaliated with a cross-checking penalty late in the game of his own. The Avs bench was yelling at Clarke throughout the third period. Now, again, I don't think what Clarke did was a good look. Anytime you're cross-checking somebody in the back and cause them to collide with the other team's goalie. Look, I know it's hockey. Things can get nasty, and there's nothing wrong with that for the most part. But I also think, if you're going to do something like that, you have to expect to get something in return. He did, but unless he did something else other than that initial hit, the Avalanche, I thought, kept going after him. And maybe because of the score, they felt like they could try and settle another score. But, look, it was over the line. The Avs retaliated. I thought that's where it should have ended. It didn't, but Brandt Clarke certainly had a target on him from a lot of the Avalanche players late in that game. Jeff Malott had an interesting night. Warren Foegele got absolutely blown up by Avs defenseman Josh Manson, and Malott dropped the gloves to stick up for his teammate. It was a scoreless game at the time. The Kings were playing pretty well. You kind of hated to see them have to go on a penalty kill for something like that, but bigger picture was, I think Jeff Malott did absolutely the right thing. I don't believe that the Josh Manson hit was dirty. No penalty was called on the play. The head wasn't the principal point of contact, but it was a violent hit into the upper chest area of Warren Foegele that really rattled him. Fortunately, he was okay. But look, it's early in the season. You're trying to set a tone for the rest of the year. Somebody puts a questionable hit on one of your players. you err on the side of I'm going after that guy. And so Jeff Malott, and also Jeff Malott's a guy that, hey, he wants to be on this roster when Corey Perry returns. So he's going to do everything he can to do the right things. And I thought in that situation, he was absolutely right to step up and stick up for Warren Fogle. I mentioned Alex Laferriere did play in the game after getting banged up in the preseason, played 17 minutes and 26 seconds. He looked okay. He had one shot on goal. Probably the best 5-on-5 scoring chance the Kings had was in the second period when there was a turnover in the Avs end. Alex Turcotte found himself in the slot with time and space, but just couldn't finish. As Colorado goalie Scott Wedgwood had a pretty good game as well. All in all, just not enough from everyone in this game. If the Kings are going to get it done with a group effort this season, that group has to collectively all be much better than they were on opening night against the Colorado Avalanche. So the Kings are right back at it on Wednesday against another tough opponent. And we found out what the big surprise was, the big reveal for the LA Kings on opening night. We will discuss that next on Locked On LA Kings, your team every day. The NFL season is here, and FanDuel is making sure you're ready for kickoff with a can't-miss offer. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you get $300 in bonus bets to bet across the app. I love using FanDuel because it fits however you'd like to bet. Player props, building a same-game parlay, or even jumping in live as the action unfolds. It makes every game more exciting, whether you're watching your team or just keeping an eye on your fantasy lineup. It's quick, easy, and the best way to add a little more energy to your Sunday. So are you ready to play? Download the FanDuel app now by visiting FanDuel.com to get started. That's FanDuel.com to place your first $5 bet. Well, the LA Kings said they had a big surprise in store for opening night, and we guessed that maybe it was the new third jersey reveal, and it was. Nice job of trickery by the Kings. They came out in their normal black home jerseys for the pregame skate, and then changed into their new black jerseys with gray matte helmets for the start of the game. If you didn't see the uniforms, and by the way, the guys over at mayorsmanor.com, they say that the Kings will be wearing these uniforms for all their Saturday games at home, I assume. It's a black jersey, black pants, black socks. You've got a silver number and stripe on the arms and the bottom of the jersey on the socks. And it is topped with a gray matte helmet. Now, it's not the chrome domes that the Kings used to have. It's a more of a gray or maybe kind of a muted silver. I would say they look like the Raiders if the Raiders were a hockey team. Like if they just took the Raiders uniforms without the logo on the side. It's that kind of a color. Now, for the thumbnail for the YouTube episode and for the podcast, they're asking us to put out provocative titles to get people interested. And my title was, it was Anze Kopitar with the new uniform, and the title was Ugly. I was referring to the performance on the ice and not the uniforms, but it's trying to get people's attention. So maybe that's what some people think it is. But I'm actually pretty okay with these new uniforms. I like the jerseys, and I think the helmets are okay. But then again, I was one of those guys who liked the Chrome Dome helmets too. So it seemed like a mixed reaction online. Some people thought they were really great and some people didn't. Like I said, I like the jerseys. I'm going to buy one. I like the helmets too. So I'm all good with the new look. Now, hopefully the Kings will play a lot better in those new uniforms as it goes on. And I've said, if you've watched this show, I've always said the crown, if you're watching on YouTube, I'm wearing a hat that has that crown on it, the exact same crown that's on the front of these new third jerseys. I always have wanted the crown to be the primary logo on the front of the jersey. So any jersey that has that, that's going to be good for me. I'm going to like that right off the bat. So I did like the new jerseys. I did like how the Kings revealed them. I like how they were a little bit sneaky about it. I just wish it was a better result wearing those jerseys. So the Kings are right back at it. They are in Vegas Wednesday night to take on the Golden Knights, a team that a lot of people, including me, thinks will likely win the Pacific Division. If not, they should be no worse than second. They're one of the top teams in the Western Conference, I believe, going into the season. And we'll need to see a better all-around effort for the LA Kings to avoid going 0-2 to start the season. We will see the LA Kings regular season debut of number 2 goalie Anton Forsberg, with the Kings playing on back-to-back nights. And his career against Vegas, he is 1-2 in 3 career starts against the Golden Knights. So the Kings will be taking on another pretty dynamic duo with the Vegas Golden Knights. They've got a couple of top-line players that are very, very good in Mitch Marner and Jack Eichel. Marner will be making his Vegas debut. You know, the Fortress there is going to be rocking for this one. So the Kings, again, going to have to be ready. Look, if it does turn out the Kings are 0-2 to start the year, I don't know that would be shocking because of the two really good opponents. That said, if the Kings play similarly to how they played on opening night and lose comfortably, I guess you would say, to Vegas, that's not how you want to start the season, obviously. So hopefully the Kings can at least have a much more competitive effort in this one. But we want to see them get the win. Split the first 2 games and you're feeling a lot better about yourselves. But it's not going to be easy against a very good Vegas Golden Knights team. And back-to-back games, that's not going to help either. But hey, as Jim Hiller said, this is the league, and you're paid to perform, and their job is to get back out there on the ice and play at a certain level. I don't know that level was achieved. Yes, you give Colorado some credit. Yes, Colorado is a very good team, but the Kings are better than what we saw on opening night, and we need to see that on night 2 of the NHL season. Face-off in Las Vegas is set for 7 p.m. Pacific time, and that game will be broadcast on TNT. So back-to-back national TV games for the LA Kings. One other note I did want to pass along real quick. We had talked about when Phoenix Copley was claimed off waivers by the Tampa Bay Lightning that I thought the Kings would be looking for a veteran goalie possibly to sign or to claim off waivers. Well, I did see on Tuesday that there are 3 veteran goalies that are now out there. 2 of them placed on waivers. One of them is just a guy that said he was looking for a different opportunity. Ville Husso, formerly of the Ducks, Alexander Georgiev, who played last year in San Jose and one other place, I think, Colorado. They both were put on waivers. And then James Reimer, the veteran who was with the tryout with Toronto, has asked to be let out of that tryout so he can sign with another team. So I don't know if one of those teams is the Kings or if they put in a waiver claim on these guys, but these are a couple of veteran goaltenders that the Kings might be interested to have a little insurance with an NHL veteran if something were to happen to one of the 2 goalies with the Kings. And that hopefully does not happen. All right, for you everydayers, those of you that listen and watch Locked On LA Kings every day, obviously coming up on our next show, we will be recapping the Kings game in Vegas and hoping for a much different outcome. Hope you'll join us for that. And by the way, I did want to mention, I saw that the YouTube channel has gone over 4,500 subscribers. Thank you so much for that. When I started this show, I think it was a little over 3 years ago, we were under 1,000 subscribers. So how it's grown and how you guys have supported the show, I just want to say thank you very much. I really, really appreciate it. If you want to get an email in for this week's fan feedback show or anything else regarding the LA Kings, the email address, you can tell us what you think about the uniforms. The email address is lockedoneddie@gmail.com. And if you're watching on YouTube, we love for you to comment in the comment section as well. Stay interactive with the show on social media, X, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok. We are at Locked On LA Kings. And if you want some extra Kings coverage, shoot me an email at lakingsextra@gmail.com and we'll pass along the information on that. I'm Eddie Garcia. Thank you for listening and watching Locked On LA Kings, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Have a great rest of your day. We'll talk to you next time. And as always, go Kings, go.